90,000, and it looks like the bulk of that, so budget was 118, 2013 is 170. Is the mayor's assistant and the clerk's assistant coming out of that? Is that where that jump
yes,
from?
that is. The budget is one, yeah. Yes, both of those would come primarily out of that fund, or that line.
Okay. And the benefits as well?
Absolutely.
So when I look at that position, the administrator position, that's a third of a person? So what's that?
I think that's like, yeah.
14 hours, 15 hours a week or something?
Oh, 50.
What do we envision that person doing? So I know you, who is the assistant? Where's the job description? Is it a union position?
I would say it would be an administrative position, so it would not be union.
No, you don't.
How do we get away with that?
Well, if they're doing, depends on what their job description would be, and I don't have a job description for it, so
Okay.
that would have to be created.
As far as that's concerned, between the union, we're having a meeting tomorrow, and I discussed it with her before, about a month ago, and she was sure that it doesn't fall within the union contract.
That comes out to like,
System.
And I'd like to see a job description for that before we adopt the budget.
that's like 12 hours a week
Okay.
is what that comes out to.
Okay.
And actually, I guess when I actually do the math, we probably need to take out if we listed it to have medical, we need to take that out because it's under the 60 hours a month that requires it to have medical.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess it depends on how much we're paying that person an hour, right?
Well, and for 12 hours a week, I mean, I guess it begs the question.
No, I didn't have medical.
What do we hope to get accomplished in 12 hours a week? I mean, is it filing, is it?
No, it's helping the mayor administer, as I understand it.
I'd like a little more information. I'd like to see your vision. I'd like to see a job description before we can adopt it. And
You like to see a job description?
exactly what that
before we
person's
adopt
going to do, yeah.
it? Okay. We'll work on it tomorrow.
And then I guess the same is true for the clerk assistant as well. Is that a position that we've had in the city
You
before?
want a job description on that too?
Yeah, I think we need to see it. And is it a full-time, I know that with that position being vacant for so long, I totally understand that there's a huge backlog, I would imagine.
Well,
Is it a 3-month, or is it this is a position we're
okay.
going to fill in forever?
There weren't any position for clerk's assistant before. This is the first time.
Okay.
And
It's budgeted full-time.
as far as the administration of that is concerned, it's primarily her responsibility. She could have maybe she wants the job done in 3 months, 2 months, or a week. That's her prerogative, how much she wants to use her assistant. Because she has to look at the workload, and she has to determine the priority and work accordingly. So it's very difficult to say how long or how much effort will be involved by an accounting system. All I want is a budget, and let her administer the workload.
So, and I'll be honest, the difference between a $55,000 a year full-time position and a $20,000 3-month rotation, $30,000, the way I'm thinking right now, that's a third of an officer.
Oh,
So.
What are you talking about? The assistant or her?
The assistant. So if she needs an assistant to get unburied from what's been taking place the last 5 months or however long it's been.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Hold on, just a second. Then we need to determine that now before we adopt the budget.
Okay, wait, just a minute. What you're making an assumption right now, which I think what you really should do is go in with the clerk and look at the job to be done and look at the volume of work to be done and talk it over with her. That's the only way I can answer your question, because we can't give you any exact information of how the job is going to be done now. It's up to her how it's going to be done, how much hours that she's going to require for her assistant, and it's up to her to keep within the budget. And we'll come up with the job description.
Can I move to youth, the youth service, what am I, 575?
Okay.
The proposed, or projected 2012 year end on salary is 32,000, the proposed 2013 on salaries is 77,000. Can you help me with that one? I can't imagine the bus driver.
No, and the youth doesn't have the bus driver in it. But what was budgeted in 2012 was for a part-time, and the union negotiations made that full-time. And then there was also a part-time assistant for the summer program. I'm not sure how part-time she was, I'd have to look it up. But I know for those 3 months during the summer, there was a part-timer or a temporary person. And that made a huge difference. Also, the director that is supposed to be overseeing both youth and seniors wasn't really totally split between the two.
So this is just a kind of correction or realization of what our actual situation is, not any kind of actual program change. Okay.
Remind me what indigent,
Indigent.
that is the prosecutor?
No, that's the public defender. The prosecutor is listed in the same line item as the city attorney,
Okay.
but indigent defense is the public defender, and that's a separate line item. I don't know why they separated it.
How about park fund 5?
That was a really interesting one.
Yeah, I'm looking at salaries and wages. Budgeted 2012 at 19,000. Projected 2012 year end is 2,900. Proposed 2013 is 46,000.
Yeah, that is one of those that there was nobody in the park, or the salaries for public works has been no expense to, or next to no expense to the parks, 576 Park, or to 518 Central Services for any work that they've done on the campus, or mowing parks, mowing groundskeeping anywhere. It's all been split out in the utility funds, and the auditor doesn't like that.
But based on my experience, a lot of that didn't, I mean, I know we mowed the parks, but they're in rough shape. Did
Yeah,
we really spend?
they really did,
And
at least last year, I know they really did put their time into other things and not maintain the park.
And I believe that to be true, but I believe that's also something that has been complained about. So the Parks Board was not happy with that whatsoever. Also, the Parks Fund, some of this was in the general fund in the past, and now it's all in this one fund for the change of the bars, yada yada, you're tired of hearing it, I know. But some of that money is reserved in that fund. If you'll notice, there's an ending fund, there's two ending fund balances. Anything that comes in under impact fees and the excess levies, those are reserved and restricted and can only be spent for specific things.
So I've got a question on that, but I want to go back up. I'm still looking at parks under, I believe it's equipment, 5768035. Historically, under $1,000. 2012 we jumped it to 25,000, almost 26,000 bucks. But at the end of the year we'll spend a tenth of that.
As I understand it, they wanted some playground equipment, and it didn't get purchased.
And we don't intend to purchase that next year?
Nobody has talked to me about that specifically. There is some money next year that's set aside specifically for land acquisition.
Yeah, that was my next question.
And that's because if you don't spend your park impact fees, you lose them, and you have to return them to the giver.
So has this budget been shared with the Parks Board?
Yes, it has, and they actually came in and sat down and grilled me.
Now, back on your salary, a lot of the maintenance in the park is done by part-time summer help, so it'll a lot less your salary rate and everything, so that.
And they didn't hire any in 2012.
So I guess, going back to salaries, so we budgeted 19. We spent, or we're on track to spend 15% of that for the year, and we know that that's not enough. So we double it for 2013. Maybe I missed it. My attention span's very short tonight, so I apologize.
I had to pick a number.
And 19,000 didn't work?
And that's, well, I don't believe that it's realistic.
But we made do with
Well,
15% of that.
Yeah,
for
it's
the
not
year.
realistic because we did it on 3.
I mean, even 50%. It's twice as much as we have this year.
And if you want to give me a goal of how many hours you'd like to see spent in the park, or something, or a dollar figure, or something, if somebody wants to give me some kind of direction on that, I'd be happy to take it.
Can you talk to the community development director?
Yeah, I was trying to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, I think what we're trying to get is just understanding,
the magnitude.
yeah, and why they jump. I mean, it's not.
Some of that,
It seems backward to me that we're asking why it jumped, and you're saying, well, if you want to give me a number, like the number we seemingly picked out of thin air, and you're picking out of thin air, why not just go with the one you had before?
I didn't feel that it was reasonable, and the Parks Board recommended and requested more. And I didn't have a public works person to tell me different. I do know that we have to put a reasonable number for general fund expenses rather than taking it all out of utilities like we have in the past.
So is that, by jumping that up to 46,000, was that reduced from some of the enterprise funds then?
Yes.
The utility funds?
Another part of this, because we had some monies from developers to take care of the park, pocket parks for like 3 years or whatever. So a lot of those are maturing now, where we're gonna have to pick up the entire expense.
I think that happened this year. We should have picked it
Yeah,
up this year.
that's the next fund down, 006, is neighborhood park.
Some of that was 3 years, and it was expired, I believe, last year, and some of it is 5 years, and it expires at the end of this year. So yes, you do have to pick up that.
If you look at the next one down, 006, this year it was 23,943, and next year's proposed at 5,000. So that part is moving up to
park.
Fund balance, sorry. Very nice, we didn't actually spend it, okay, contract.
If I can go back up to central services, is that, so insurance is listed, we had for 2012 budgeted 103, for 2013 we're budgeting, we're proposing 105. Tell me about that number.
Okay, your insurance was quite interesting as well. There was, minute, I got it on the sheet here. In the past, well, number one, grand total for the entire city in 2012 budgeted was $162,300, and in this budget, anticipating a private insurer, yeah, I budgeted $197,000, so there would be enough money to pay for it. Not sure where that's going to come down, no idea, but I anticipate that it will be higher. A 15% increase would be $186,000.
I was going to say add 20% to whatever number you had in 2012.
Okay, I did more than 15%. There were areas where the insurance was real expensive and areas where the insurance was nil or very inexpensive, where obviously there are costs. The insurance I'm used to dealing with gave me costs for buildings, costs for vehicles, costs for number of employee hours worked, and each one of those different things added up to the premium, and that's how the pool works. So I was anticipating something similar, and that's how I came out with the who's paying how much. That's all subject to change if you change insurance companies, and CIAW is not AWC, which is what I'm used to working with.
Well, on the plus side, that could be $190,000 savings next year.
For a day or two.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna stick with the insurance thing real quick. We've got, if I recall correctly, $11.5 million in claims that have been filed with the city. Do we have money set aside in here to pay claims beyond what's covered with our insurance?
I did not.
So $1.2 million.
So that would be the reserve, right? $130,000.
I believe it's too early to estimate accurate reserves on those claims, to be honest. Looking at the state of where they are in the process, I think it would be unreasonable to assume that every one of them is going to get everything they're asking for.
Right. I'm just wondering if $130,000. That's it. I have no more questions. Thank you.
Also under central services, there's a line item for technology equipment and software for $7,500. Is there anything that we have in mind to purchase with that?
That's probably the maintenance agreement.
For, would that be Springbrook?
Or there's also, I'm not sure which one, oh, I'm looking at the wrong line, that's why.
It's 518-8035, if that helps.
That also would be anything, 35 would be new, and so that would be like if we needed something, had to buy a new printer, had to buy a new program.
Okay.
If the next one down is the one that covers the maintenance, and it also covers IT services out of Auburn. So that would be Springbrook and Auburn IT.
I can't remember the details, but I do seem to recall that there is some piece of our networking equipment that's due to be replaced before it kills the whole city's network.
I thought we just
I-
spent, we did just spend a big chunk on upgrading.
We may have
Yeah,
just
there were.
already done that. That's more of an insurance policy than anything.
It just seems like a big jump to go from 186 to 232 for central services, but between.
And utilizing central services is relatively new from what I can see.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about gun permit? I'm seeing our 2012 year-end projected is $1,200, and we're showing 4,200?
Gun permits that's a non-revenue, and so it doesn't have to be budgeted at all,
What do you think?
I believe. If I'm,
That's a reaction to the staffing levels, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big jump.
which number are you looking, where are you looking?
Sorry, I'm looking at 386, 2100,
In the general fund,
criminal justice fund.
criminal justice fund. Okay, that's the non-revenue. And that is a huge jump, but if you look down at there should be a 386 with the money going back out to the state, half of it, anyway. And it looks like that's not in here. 586. That's an expense that's missing.
And I'm just wondering why we thought that gun permit would skyrocket so much.
Well, we won't have any police departments, so we figure
Everybody's
start
gonna have.
carrying guns.
Well, I think that's a valid reason, but if that's the reason, let's hear it. I'm just wondering what.
Okay, last year, there's also, there are, is this at 12/31/50 and 19/48/88 as of 8/31.
1940, that second number I'm not sure.
1948, it's still in the general fund, sorry.
Oh.
It didn't get switched over to the police
So there's
expenses.
two line items.
There's two line items, and they've been combined together, and I didn't get the 586 out of the general fund into the criminal justice fund. Sorry, I will fix that.
In the same section under criminal justice, liquor excise tax and liquor board profits, is this a result of the initiative? Because we went from 33,000 in 2012 to 5,500 for excise tax. And the liquor board profits goes from 41 to 59. Is that a result of the, I can't remember what the initiative was called, but
It did drop.
It looks like they kind of flip-flopped.
And liquor board, liquor excise tax and liquor board profits were previously recorded in the general fund, not in the criminal justice fund, but they are money that's specifically earmarked for criminal justice. And that's a dollar figure by population that MRSC gives us to budget with.
So even this year, it goes from 36,000 to 54?
That's coming from MRSC. We had half a year with criminal, or with the liquor, state liquor last year that moved into this year, and that's why probably,
Okay.
but
That's
this
pretty good then,
is,
because if that's half a year.
this is
we're over budget.
coming straight out of the liquor tax at 84 cents. It was $3.63 per population in 2012, and it went down to 84 cents per population for 2013.
Okay. I figured it had something to do with that. Thank you. James keeps jumping to the bottom, I lose my space. So, under building, planning, and community development,